Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellowah Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. I came across something recently that was an answer to a question I'd been asking, and it's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. I don't know if you've heard of it. And Mr. Dunning of Dunning and Kruger actually did a brilliant quote, which is, the first rule of the Dunning-Kruger Club is that you don't know you're a member of the Dunning-Kruger Club. So what they're talking about is something they've discovered, which is an unconscious dynamic in human beings, which when it's playing out for us, we're not aware that it's playing out for us. And that, of course, is what keeps it in place. And the question I've been asking that this gave me an answer to was the question of, why is it that if I'm chatting with a friend and we're talking about something that they know a lot about, they've got a lot of experience with it, they really know all about it, if they put forward a point of view or a piece of advice, they always do it in a straightforward way. They've got no emotional attachment to it. There's no pushiness. There's no you must do this or this is the only way to do it. But if we go on to a topic that they know very little about, they might know a little bit, but really not much, very little, that's when they're more likely to get strident, pushy, demanding that I agree with them, that I comply with their point of view, that I follow the advice that they're giving me, and so on. And I couldn't understand why that was. And I also noticed in myself that if somebody was asking me advice or input, let's say, on a topic where I know a lot about it and I'm very experienced in it, I'm more likely to say something along the lines of, well, yeah, I do know something about this, but there's a lot to it. So the answer I give you may not be the right fit for you, but here is a few thoughts. Whereas if they're asking for my input on a topic where I know a little but not very much, it's almost like there's this pull inside me to try to come up with something and sound authoritative. So I've noticed those dynamics and thought, what is that about? And then I came across this Dunning-Kruger thing, which I was actually pointed to by one of my clients because we were talking about this. And they said, well, have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? And they did an analysis of people in different sorts of situations, whether academic or work-related. And they plotted on a graph someone's degree of confidence in their point of view or their self-assessment. And the other axis of the graph was how productive they are or how capable they are. And what they discovered is that the people with very little information or very little experience tended to assess themselves much, much higher than they actually were, whereas the people with much more experience and knowledge tended to either be much closer to the accurate position in their self-assessment or to actually underestimate themselves and go, I've got so much more to learn. I'm only at the beginning of this. And I think we've all heard that idea. The more we know, the more we realize there is to learn and know. So why is this important? I think it's important because of something I've spoken about before, which is inner alignment. So if we are, through the Dunning-Kruger effect, misjudging where we are in relationship to something. So one common bugbear at the moment is about economics, particularly economics of a country or a state or the world, let's say. You probably notice if you listen online or watch people that the people who really know an awful lot about economics and have done a lot of study understand the history, understand how money works, are more likely to speak about it in a sort of a measured way, which says, yeah, this is a complicated situation. Here are some ideas about it. This is what seems to be the situation. Here are some options about how it might be addressed. Whereas the people who know very little about it, which is me and possibly you and a lot of people we know, who've not really studied it, they don't have a PhD in it, they probably haven't run a large business and had a hands-on experience of dealing with the currents and the ebbs and flows around large amounts of money, tend to be the people with the strongest opinions and the most strident compulsion to make sure everyone agrees with what they have to say or conforms to what they have to say. And I think this is rife at the moment. That's just one topic where that's the case. It also happens in relation to politics, health, all kinds of legal matters, regulatory matters. In other words, very often really complex systems that most of us don't really know very much about. And yet, because of the Dunning-Kruger Effect, we believe we know a lot more than we do, and that we have much more authority in that knowledge than we actually really do. And where the alignment question comes in is when we're in a state of, shall we say, misalignment in terms of our self-assessment as compared to the actual truth of the matter, when our confidence is very high in terms of our knowledge or our experience or being right, and the reality is we don't really know, we may not be right. So in other words, we've got an inner mismatch going on between what's true and what we think is true. Now that creates an inner conflict. That's unhelpful for us. That's bad for our energy. It's a misalignment. And the misalignment can cause a lot of distress, which we may not be conscious of. So if you're finding yourself feeling one of two situations, one situation being that you're all kind of churned up about something, you've got a strong opinion about it, you think everyone should agree with your opinion, if only the rest of the world complied with that, take a look and see, is that a topic where you actually know a little but not very much? And if that's the case, just notice that misalignment and look to see if you can actually back off from it a little bit and get back into sync with yourself. You might choose to then go and study or find out more about the situation or the topic, or you might choose to just not do that and just ease off from getting into long, passionate discussions about it and put your attention in the areas where you really are expert and you really know and you really are very experienced. Equally, if you find yourself in situations where actually you do know a lot about something, you are an expert, you have an awful lot of experience, and you feel more relaxed about it, talking about it, more capable of actually being more modest about it and saying, I do know a lot about this, and it is a complex situation. Here are a few thoughts which may or may not fit for you. Maybe you split your own research. Then honor that and value that in yourself and give yourself the credit for that and allow yourself to be a source of a resource of nourishment and information for other people in regard to that particular area. So the whole real call behind all of this that I'm proposing is just checking our alignment, our inner alignment in relationship to our opinions and what we believe in and what we're trying to persuade other people to believe in or agree with, or not trying to persuade people. And just kind of get in sync with ourselves. Value and honor where we are in terms of what we can contribute, and value and honor where we don't know very much about something or don't have much experience, and that's okay. Both are absolutely okay. What I think is less okay is when we're desperately trying to bolster a self-belief that's not accurate. And if we're trying to do that through bludgeoning other people with our opinions, then other people are being made to suffer as well for our own lack of alignment. So this is a path to equanimity that I'm talking about. And it also opens up the possibility of choosing where we put our energy. Do we decide to learn about something, learn more about something, in order to get better, get more of a sense of, right, I do understand that now. So now I can actually make more of a contribution from that. Or saying, okay, that's, 10, 15 years of study that I'm considering doing there. Shall I leave that and focus on the areas where I already have a massive contribution to make? So thank you for listening and watching. That's all for Truth and Transcendence for today. Please give us a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, comment about this topic in the thread if you feel like it below the video. Tell your friends. All of this makes such a difference to help the podcast reach far and wide. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.